don't say the word state representative, they don't get it. But if you say Austin, they understand that this is state capital, not Washington DC. The materials will identify the specific office, which is a secondary point of information. And you know what I say when I go to the door is I say, "Hi, I'm Matt Schaefer." If they don't recognize me, I say, "I'm a conservative Republican and I represent this area down in Austin." And I hand them a card. I say, "I just wanted you to have some more information about me. I'm out talking to people in the neighborhood today, listening to any concerns they have, and reminding you that early voting starts on February 18th, and I'd love to have your support." And just try to get them to open up. You'll find a way to get them to open up or not. The other thing that's really critical is if you find somebody that's that you do believe is supportive, then we want a yard sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Or we need to get some of these, but, yard signs. You say, well, would you be willing to put a yard sign in your yard for the next few weeks until the election's done? And you just tell them that way, it's not permanent, it's just, we love to be able to, there's one thing you could do to help, it would be to have a yard sign, those are really important. So get them the push card, conservative, Republican, you're there, they want to talk to them, you can seal the deal, get a yard sign. To me, those are two touches that are really important. And, you know, if you have some way to annotate, you know, it's a supporter or not, you know, we want to go back and we're going to try to make phone calls to people. And we have software that's lined up phone numbers with homes. So we can do phone banking and encourage get out the vote later on.
There's a lot of room to make notes by each address, and
Yeah.
If you'll kind of go to
the
your
more notes, the better.
second page, first page shows you a general map of the area you're going to be in. Second page gives you the homes. It looks like this. And up at the very top of the second page, it tells you how many homes are on your list. My list says 13 homes. It's got the name of the list, and then 13 homes, 28 voters, and it tells you how many male and female, their average age. And you get down this first column here, and it tells you the name of the homeowner. It's the Davis house, and it tells you the address. So what I do is go and park my car at that address. I put it in my GPS, go and park my car there, and these lists are designed for you to be able to leave your car and go walking. So you go to the first house, you look and you realize, okay, I'm talking to the Davis household, and you've got a section for notes over there. And once you get done with the conversation, you just jot down your notes as you're walking away. Did they want a yard sign? If you want a yard sign, you will have yard signs in your car. I'll give you all some yard signs. You just stick it in their yard. If they want a bumper sticker or something like that, are they supporting Matt? Are they undecided? Were they home? Were they not home? There's actually a coding system up top. On the top of the page, it says G is for gated, N is for not found, L is left literature. That's kind of, if you say L for us, it really tells us nothing. It just means that you left literature. So we'd probably rather hear, were they positive, were they not positive, interested, looking into it, you know, stuff like that. Just one line description of where the voter.
Home and you leave literature.
Yeah, that's true. But that's yeah, not found. Yeah, not at home. That's true. And then, you know, S is for no soliciting. Underneath that first deal, it tells you directions to the next house. So mine tells me to head southwest on Cambridge Bend toward Castleton Way. And so it tells you how to get to the next house. You walk to the next house, knock on the door, and go from there.
Okay, what about the ratings? And, you know, sometimes you've got a minus lady and a 10 male.
Mm-hmm.
If the lady answers the door, should we ask for whoever the man in the house is?
Let me explain these real quick. Underneath there, you see the little blue G.
This is the 21st century. Get with it.
What?
I do not do that.
Yeah.
No, seriously, in
You
a
just
family
talk.
like that, they're gonna hand it to the one who's interested in politics. That's how it normally works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our rating system goes from 1 to 10. So under here you got the G. It looks like a blue little G. And you like if somebody's a 10, that means they vote in every Republican primary. Every time the polls are open, they're there. If they're a 1, that means they don't vote very often.
What if they're a minus one?
It means
They're a Democrat and you want to talk to the
sometimes
10.
vote in the Democrat primary. So you know, and sometimes they're the Republican. In Smith County, because the Democratic Party's so weak, we have a lot of crossover. Because they want to say in who their local people are going to be, they have to come vote in the Republican primary. So you have a lot of crossover. So you will see some negative ones and things like that. And you just work your way through the list. When you get done, it's important that these lists make it back to the office, to me. If I'm not here, you can just drop them in this basket over here. This one that's listed, it says walk list completed, but data needs to be entered. It's the third basket down. And we'll take it from there. Before you get out of here, make sure you have plenty of supplies. So the peanut pushers and the chip clips, and take some bumper stickers, and I'll throw some signs in your car, and let you guys fly.
Item number 3 on this list, weren't we gonna add, do you need assistance getting to early voting if they're old? Are we gonna do
The only
that?
person, you can ask that. If you note that, put it on the front of the page, because I need to know that. I don't need to
If
know.
we could get some drivers to help people get, and it's so easy to go to early voting, you
Mm-hmm.
can park right out the door, they can come out
We're
and give
doing
you,
mail ballots.
huh?
That's true.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I have a question. Suppose we end up talking to somebody who has been reading the newspaper pretty regularly, and they know that one of Ogle's points is that you are so hated in Austin that you couldn't even push your own bill for the pharmacy school. What do we tell them about that?
Simply not true. The UT Tyler officials, Dr. Mabry and others, will acknowledge that my role was very positive, that Matt was a sponsor of the bill. The bill did have some opposition, and Senator Eltoth made a decision to let party carry it out of committee. Up to this day, I think I had no problems carrying it myself, but I think his role was positive, and you tell him this, Matt led the layout of the bill in committee and expedited it to the House floor. You know, it gets down into the weeds. If people don't understand the procedure, it's very difficult to explain it. The bottom line is Matt's role was positive on that bill. Matt supported that bill,
And they're building the pharmacy school.
and they're building the pharmacy
Yeah.
school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
So
got it
they're
done, and
struggling
that's what
for-
matters.
They're searching for failure in the midst of success. It normally takes years to get a deal like that through the legislature. And I can tell you that there were many conservative groups that came out against it. Many conservative House members did. 2 of the major advocacy organizations came out against it because they didn't understand the bill. Because, you know, it is going to be run outside of the normal state funding. It's going to be run like a private school. So the funding is going to come from the market, which is the willing students who are going to incur the cost.
$33,000 a year.
Yeah, and
according
it may
to
or
the
may not
dean.
work. But you're not asking for a bunch of taxpayer dollars to do it, so it was a conservative approach.
Well, I just had a suspicion that might come up, so I wanted to know.
The truth is, rarely does it come up. People, unless you're a real Ogle guy, general public's like, yeah, they don't even know about it.
Okay.
What about defusing somebody that says one particular issue with you, that, you know, that just stands them off like pro-life or whatever, you're too strong? Tell them how to
Yeah.
defuse that.
Okay, so sometimes you'll run into someone who says, well, I think he's just gotten too far to the right. Usually what they mean by that is they don't like my position on abortion. That's been my experience, which is non-negotiable for me. I always say, well, you know, there's probably a lot of things that you and Matt would agree on, like public education. One of the things that I've really worked on was trying to re-emphasize vocational training in our public schools, which we've gotten away from in Texas. You know, where we're actually teaching some real-life skills, really to get a job, welding, nursing, things that has been diminished in Texas public schools over the last several years. We're trying to re-emphasize that. There's been a policy emphasis in Texas to push everyone into college preparation, to the detriment of, well, maybe you want to be an auto mechanic, maybe you want to learn drafting, maybe you want to learn home economics, I mean, you name it. And so I think that contributes to our dropout rate. We're not doing anything that inspires young people. And so that's one of the things I've worked on. And we have found that message really resonates with voters. Because especially some of the ones Dr. Kane's generation remembers when public schools did that at a greater level, and they feel like that we've made a mistake policy-wise in Texas. And so that's something I've talked about since I very first ran. I filed legislation on it. I've worked on it. I have done some work on that that's drawn statewide attention, because we're really down in the weeds now, but the rules in place basically prohibit the subject matter expert from getting into the classroom to teach those classes. So the retired engineer who wants to come
Right.
teach auto shop
Mhm.
has a mountainous burden to getting the proper certifications to teach, even though he's an expert. And so we filed legislation and had hearings on trying to get that cut out, so the local superintendent can say, you're a retired doctor, you're a retired nurse, you're a retired engineer. We have vocational classes that need to be taught in our public schools. You're the one who didn't just study the widget, you built the widget, right? So right now what we have is a lot of football coaches that need to be gainfully employed at the school other than football practice, and so they go take a few classes in computer or auto shop or something, and they go teach. They don't have the real world experience. And so I call them the educrats in Austin, who,
I think that's a great idea.
so we've been working on that. We work with our public schools on that, so.
Can I just ask, Matt, too, one of the things coming out with SCIF is your weak stance on border security. What would we tell people?
You
He
can
stood on the border.
Tell them to wake up.
tell them that,
That's a good question.
Matt has spent personal time at the border. Matt has a military background, for almost 13 years, that he understands, probably understands security operations better than most legislators do. And, has spent significant amount of time, getting personally acquainted with the problem set, and, does have common sense things that we can do, and he's proposing those, so.
And what are those?
Number one, the Border Patrol, which is federal, have left huge gaps on the border, on the river itself. And Texas state troopers are trying to fill those gaps, but they're under-resourced and undermanned. So the most practical thing we can do to stop people at the river, which is where they're coming across in the droves, is to give more manpower and equipment to our Texas DPS troopers, so that they have more resources on the river itself, along the river, and above the river. Giving them some air assets where they don't have to, there's just 1,400 miles of border. You can't practically build a fence, and you don't need to build a fence for all that. You can use air assets to watch the river. You've got to have more boats on the river. We now have 2 gunboats on the river, but they can only operate in the deeper parts of the river. We need more boats in the shallow parts of the river, and we need more manpower on the roads along the river. That's something very simple, yet politically difficult to do, because even some of the political elected officials along the border don't want that.
Why are the feds so far off the border?
They've deliberately done that.
Yeah.
They set up checkpoints. 60
Just to make it
miles in.
easy for the
So they
illegals to
don't-
get
they
here?
don't
Director of our
want- they
Border
don't
Patrol
want-
is.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They have a presence on the river, but it's limited.
So are you still planning to do a town hall on that?
Yes, we are working on that. I think Sarah should have that date set.
Okay, so I was gonna say if they have a
We-
date, we can
we've
apply,
got-
but
The bottom line is that the leadership in the House has kept us from doing anything meaningful on that. That's the ultimate question. That's the ultimate answer to.
That's the war we're
to
in.
what conservatives have dealt with. The leadership in the Texas House, not only do they block the pro-life legislation, but they don't allow any significant immigration issue out of committee. They just don't.
Why do you think Strauss wants that to happen? I mean, pro-life, do you think it'd be politically smart because he knows it's in Texas and, it'd be great and even and I know they have divorce carry because he's from San Antonio, but why do you think he's doing that right now?
He doesn't believe it.
He's-
It's not dear to him. And it's controversial. Caused a lot of uproar. And passive leaders avoid controversy on this.